What extinct creature would be an absolute nightmare if it came back to life? I feel like pterodactyls would be a nuisance. They would urinate all over us and we wouldn't even notice. Any other hominin species, Neanderthal, Denisovans etc. It would be such a moral pain in the A. Can we put them in zoos? Do they get nature preserves? Do we give them human rights? How would we share land and resources? Would we go to war? I feel like the world is only big enough for one of us. And it might not be big enough for just us either. Scroll down to find this. I think Neanderthals might be easy enough, they might actually be close enough to humans intellectually to just be treated as us. Go a bit further back and there might be problems. What do you do with people who are definitely people but also not quite created equal? Sarcosuchus imperator was a crocodile who measured over 40 feet long and is estimated to have had one of the greatest bite forces in history. Something that could go in and out of the ocean like that and just gobble up a family walking by the beach, not even right next to the water, is terrifying. They were thought to have scavenged out of the water. Nowhere as big. But how about Caprosuchus saharicus, a 6-7M croc that had long legs and hunted on land? It's known as the boar crocodile because of its boar-like tusks and is thought to have been an active predator like a tiger. So a tall galloping boar crocodile that hunts you like a tiger. Unless I had full head to toe plate armor and an automatic shotgun with a drum. I don't like my chances against a haast seagull out in the open. It was a 30-pound bird of prey that hunted moa in New Zealand. Imagine 30 pounds dive bombing you out of the blue with 2-inch talons and a 4-inch claw on each foot. It went extinct only like 400 years ago because the first humans to inhabit the area hunted the moa go extinction almost immediately and starved out the eagles. Brachiosaurus. They are not predators but they apparently pooped and farted so much that it would scare away predators. Imagine getting farted on and then just dying. Giant airfine bugs. Could you imagine a bird-sized mosquito taking a pint from you? Those 16-foot tall rhinoceros things they just discovered. Imagine one of those getting spooked and then plowing through a two-story house. Dodos. They had no fear of humans so they would invade our cities like immense, slow walking pain in the pigeons. Every time you tried to catch a bus you'd be surrounded by a flock of dodos looking all cute at you and side-eyeing your sandwich. Why did the dodo cross the road? It didn't. It just stood in the middle of the road staring into space and pooping for half an hour, holding up all the goddamn traffic. And then they'd get in the subways and breed and try to peck your luggage or some shit. Absolute nightmare. Don't tell me you can't picture this. They try that shit in New York. They will immediately be eaten by rats. New York rats gonna get very fat very quickly. Eventually too fat to chase the dodos. They'll soon go back to a healthy diet of trash and takeout. And the dodo infestation will continue. Or maybe the New York subway will evolve its own subspecies of mean killer dodos that will then start mugging joggers in Central Park. Although an expected answer, the megalodon. This is because similar to great white sharks they would often reside just off the coast of beaches. Due to their large jaws I'm guessing there will be no "or that doesn't taste good. Let's spit it out." Instead it would be they ate you in one bite, so forget livable injuries. If they were still around no one would be at the beaches, that's for sure. I guarantee that it would be hunted to extinction or would have trackers implanted on everyone. Probably some virus that jumped species, killed every host, then went extinct itself, and is currently in the ice caps now about to melt from global warming. Cave bear. I think I remember from somewhere people who study human migration patterns noticed that humans didn't cross the land bridge into North America until the cave bear started dying out, meaning that these affairs were so bad that they quite literally stopped humans from reaching an entire continent. But IDK, not sure if it's true or not, but when I heard it I was like damn. Cave bear is one of the few animals we didn't contribute to the extinction of that existed during the Ice Age. We killed the mammoths, giant sloths, saber-tooth, but not the cave bear. Giant sloths, would that be a nightmare or would that be totally amazing? Short-faced bear, bigger than any current bear species, could absolutely destroy a person, and yet, along with all the other megafauna, went extinct shortly after humans arrived. Around the time humans crossed the Bering Strait, so, not that long ago, Siberia was reportedly full of a now extinct subgroup of hyenas that, according to fossil records, were as big as horses. In fact, I remember reading that one of the reasons we didn't cross the Bering Strait earlier than when we did was because of those mega hyenas. Not the obvious extinct predators or dinosaurs answer, but my best bet would be other Homo species. We barely get along with each other as Homo sapiens sapiens. Now imagine what would happen if different species were still alive. Racism, wars, never-ending conflict and competition, most of them about resources like food and water. Imagine a united Homo neanderthals in the billions against us Homo sapiens. Somehow this makes me the equivalent of nationalistic towards my own species and ready for war with those FRs. God, what is wrong with me? Like the xenophobic aggression is primarily inherent in me towards them somehow. I mean, my brain can think, WTF is wrong with you? But somehow my inner predator is all like, you F them up real good with the boys. Probably because they would be seen as a threat to our way of life. Like you'd have to fight for land and food and things, so you might as well eliminate the weaker competition. I think having another hominid species on the earth like that would have either stunted our intellectual growth or we would be a much more violent species. And I mean more violent as in less likely to have morals and more likely to be more animalistic. Also, happy cake day fellow Homo sapien. On an individual level, most extinct large predators, or even dangerous parasites, could be problematic. But I can't think of anything that could threaten humans on a large scale, other than viruses. As we have recently learned, extinct large predators simply being able to survive on the planet could threaten humans on a large scale. The atmosphere was drastically different with a much higher oxygen content than we have today. Many of those species simply couldn't live in our current atmosphere because their lungs weren't efficient enough to pull the limited amount of oxygen out of the atmosphere. If you change the atmosphere of the planet, it changes pretty much everything. In your example, the sudden, significant change in the composition of the atmosphere would be the threatening part, although I haven't a clue what the safe maximum is for humans regarding oxygen, allowing for humans to, at some point, mitigate that part of the issue. AMD only looking at the physical characteristics of past potential predators. We have to acknowledge the fact that humans are an extinction event for any creatures that threaten them or their livestock agriculture. The last 10k years has been an absolute rout for non-humans in every environment, so I don't see anything from the past posing a long-term or persistent threat to humans. The passenger pigeon. Most people recall that this bird was hunted to extinction by humans around the turn of the 20th century. But many don't realize the reason behind it. Justified or not, the passenger pigeon was once the most numerous bird in North America, and possibly the entire world. Estimates in the mid-19th century put the population at over 3.1-2 billion, and perhaps as many as 5 billion. They were also very social, preferring to nest and breed in massively large flocks. Migrating passenger pigeons would number in the literal millions, blackening the sky for hours. They were so easy to hunt that one could bring a shotgun outside, aim in any random direction, and bring down 10 birds with one shot. They became an easily accessible cheap food item for the post-Civil War poor in the late 19th century. In addition, they were seen as a pest because imagine 289,345,987 pigeons roosting in trees together during breeding season, often destroying them and leaving literal mounds of birch in their wake. Given the economics, they were edible, and the societal, they were a nuisance. Influences. It's not really surprising to realize that they were completely eradicated in only 50 years. You think the pigeons in the city park, shitting all over the statues and your car, are annoying? Imagine uncountable millions and millions of them, thundering across the skies without end, raining white poop day and night, getting sucked into aircraft engines, destroying all the trees in the park. The squawking noise of a sea of feathers and beaks. Imagine cicada bridex, but this time, it's birds who grow to be 1.5 feet long. You'd wish they were extinct, wouldn't you? Mosasaurus. You think orcas and sharks are bad, both of whom very rarely mess with humans. The thing's basically a giant Komodo dragon with flippers that eats anything smaller than it, which is most sea creatures and humans. Imagine trying to sail with those monsters hanging around. Affine Quetzalcoatlus. They were the size of small aircrafts, wingspan of 10 meters or 33 feet. They are big enough that they could just swoop down and grab a horse. You think people would be a problem for them to eat? Gecalopterus giant sea scorpion. Lived in brackish or fresh water. Apex predator. Stereoscopic eyes. Roughly 8 feet long. Pretty sure I already have nightmares about this animal. Smallpox. Yes, there are small quantities in labs. Despite the fact that we wiped it out once, I'm not sure that we've got enough population immunity remaining, and given the morons, I mean anti-vaxxers, it's doubtful we could wipe it out again. This stuff used to wipe large swaths of people off the planet routinely. Estimated death tolls in the hundreds of millions. What size we going for? Big, small or microscopic? Regardless though, I'm choosing any one of the primal superbugs which could decimate life before we knew we were sick, and we would all be screwed. Just look at how COVID affected us and that affair was known about. Butterflies, particularly western monarch ones. Apparently they were an absolute nightmare to society because we decimated 99% of them recently. When's the last time you've seen a butterfly? Boring answer, nothing. If it was a serious enough problem, we'd kill it until it was extinct. Example, how long do you think would an aerial predator last when any sighting would result in hunters being dispatched? You don't even need anything crazy high tech. A bunch of humans with automatic shotguns and rifles are scary enough. Getting eaten by the dinos too often? They're now in trucks with reinforced protective cages. Probably mostly Toyotas. Some form of giant dino shitting everywhere and stepping on people. It's not as it can hide very well. Once it is sighted, it'll either meet small arms fire until it keels over, or someone will call animal control and they'll send an Apache with a 20mm chain gun. We're currently working on getting rid of human biting mosquitoes, and the main reason they still exist is that they aren't a serious threat in wealthy regions, and there is no agreement that we want them gone. Anything that kills people and is big enough to shoot will be short-lived unless it can breed faster than we can make bullets, and doesn't rely on breeding places that we can remove, poison, or burn.